Thank you. Okay, good evening and welcome to the 6 p.m. City Council work meeting, or City Council meeting, sorry. Today is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present. First off, we have a Pledge of Allegiance that will be offered by Vice Chair White.
Thank you. Please rise if you are able. And repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair White. Now we would ask those who are joining us to join with us in observing a moment of silence. Thank you. First up, we have a recognition for National Police Week, and we have Councilmember Heyer who will read that for us.
Yes, thank you, Chair Blair. It's my pleasure to do this. I appreciate you letting me participate in this. But this proclamation is declaring May 9th through the 15th, 2021, National Police Week in Ogden City. Whereas every day about 900,000 police officers across the country, including the dedicated members of the Ogden Police Department, serve in their communities with uncertainty of what the day will bring. These brave young men and women play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of all members of the community. And whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas in 2021, the names of 394 officers killed in the line of duty were added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. These 394 officers included 295 officers who were killed during 2020, 182 which were related to COVID-19, plus 99 officers who died in previous years, but whose stories of sacrifice had been lost to history until now. Since the first known line of duty death in 1786, more than 22,000 U.S. law enforcement officers have made the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas we recognize and honor the 9 Ogden Police Department officers who paid the ultimate sacrifice, Captain William A. Brown, Officer Albert G. Smalley, Patrolman Charles Manzel, Patrolman Joseph Harold Quigley, Detective Hoyt L. Gates, Officer Clarence M. Bean, Detective Sergeant Marshall N. White, Agent Jared Daniel Frankham, and Officer Nathan James Lyday will always be remembered for the service and dedication to the Ogden community. And whereas we encourage all citizens to recognize and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell hereby proclaim May 9th through the 15th, 2021, National Police Week in Ogden City. We are grateful for the outstanding and often arduous work law enforcement officials and public safety personnel perform on a daily basis to keep our community safe. With that, Chair, I'd make a motion that we pass this declaration declaring May 9th through the 15th, 2021 National Police Week in Ogden City.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Chaburka to adopt this joint proclamation declaring May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. And I believe we have Chief Young here with us to receive that.
Yes, Council Chair, and I'll just take a quick second just to thank the council and staff for preparing a phenomenal recognition for Police Week. I just, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd be in this position again, recognizing Police Week, having lost one of our officers. After having gone through that with Jared, you just kind of, for some reason, you get it in your head that you've done this once and you've served your time more or less, and you're going to never do it again. So it's almost more difficult, and it's been difficult for the police department. But they've just been so phenomenal. I'm so proud of them. And I'm so proud of all of our city, our administration, our mayor, our CAO, and all of you on the council and what you've done to step up and support your police department and carry us through this loss. We expected to be back in Washington, D.C. this week, placing Nate's name on the wall and celebrating his life and what he gave to Ogden City. And unfortunately, COVID strikes again, and we're going to have to push that back until October, but we are going to be recognizing Nate. Not only in this week, we'll be at the state capitol, and I appreciate those of you who are going to attend for his name being placed on the national monument at the state capitol this Thursday at 11 a.m. And then we'll be having a recognition event on May 28th on the anniversary of our loss of Nate as well. And then we'll be coming together again to recognizing in October. And of course, it's always going to be on our minds. So thank you so much for your support. It's a phenomenal proclamation, and I appreciate you having me here.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate all of our good officers. I salute you.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we begin, or before we move on, I forgot to mention that in the work session, I read the chair's determination to hold electronic meetings. So I just wanted to make reference to that we did read that at the beginning of the work session, and that's in there and on the minutes of the work session. So sorry I didn't mention that earlier, but it was read at the beginning of the work session. Next up, we have one item listed in our common consent, the honorary street name designation. And this would be setting the public hearing for May 18th, 2021.
Chair, I'd make a motion that we adopt the common consent agenda and set the public hearing for May 18th on that item.
I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt the item listed under common consent and set the public hearing for May 18th, 2021 by Councilmember Heyer and the second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next up is a report from administration. And tonight we get to hear from the mayor's proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget presentation. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to the mayor.
Thank you, Chair Blair. And I want to just thank you all for recognizing the great work that our men and women do in uniform. That is one of the hardest jobs there is. And I appreciated the fact that you put our great Chief Eric Young in there. You can see how personal it is for him. It's personal for all of us. It's a really, really unique and dynamic job. And so thank you for the recognition and for everything you've done. That's near and dear to my heart. So thank you. And so we will be happy to present the budget recommendations to the Ogden City Council. I believe Brandon's going to be running this. So forgive me when I say next slide, next slide, next slide. but this has been a really unique year for us. I'll just start by saying when we came into this, we cut budgets. We had a recommendation from the Utah League of Cities and Towns and the Kansas City Gardner Institute to say, you're going to be down about 30% in your overall revenues as we look at this moving forward. And so we took that advice and made some very deep, difficult budget cuts that you all approved and tried to work on. But it's been a unique year. So I find myself in a unique position of giving you some good news and some optimism as we move into this. And so it's my pleasure to be in front of you tonight and give the budget recommendations to the Ogden City Council. Like we've said in the past, this has been a collaborative effort from everybody, every single department director, all of our administration on down to try and give you the best view of what we think is going to be happening as we move forward. And so it's an honor to be here. And so, Brandon, if you'll move to the next slide. I did have the opportunity as the president of the League of Cities and Towns to present this in Tuacahn, which was, not more than a little intimidating, but we have a video that would just like to play right now. Thanks, Brandon. And this is what we played at the League of Cities and Towns at our introduction as me being the president of the League of Cities and Towns.
I am honored and absolutely thrilled to be the person that gets to represent this amazing city of ours, Ogden, Utah. It's been recognized over 16 times just in the last year as one of the best places to raise a family, one of the coolest places to visit. Ogden's got a balance of everything that makes life worth living. We've got great jobs here. We have a thriving tech and aerospace industry, a great relationship with our university. You can really have it all in Ogden. We saw that come with the Sesquicentennial. We had over 200,000 people that came to visit this community and really delve into its rich history. It's something that I'm extremely proud of, and I think something that Ogdenites absolutely love. It's amazing that in the last handful of years, we've seen all of these little Ogden boutique brands jump up. You see Ogden stickers on ski helmets and on rocket boxes and on water bottles. And people that live here are really proud of the way this community represents itself and where we've come in the last number of years.
Well, that wasn't the whole video. And it obviously broke up a little bit, but that's okay. Brandon, can we move to the next one? It was a really cool opportunity to introduce Ogden to a lot of people in the state of Utah that don't know much about us other than we were an old rail town and everything else. And I want to appreciate the communications department and everything else, because I thought it turned out to be really good. One of the things I want to talk about was the economic outlook. I remember sitting here on a Zoom meeting with you all last year, trying to figure out where are we going to go with this. I mean, we kind of thought, as you look at how much worse will this get in 42 days, Utah wiped out nearly all the jobs our nation-leading economy created in the past 3 years. More job losses will follow, but I expect April 2020 will be the high point for job losses, with each subsequent month tapering down. As you look at what happened here in the last year, it's remarkable that we're where we're at. And I think that is a great testament for what's happening in our community and everything else. You know, Natalie Gochner wrote a lot of these quotes. She's the Associate Dean in the David Eccles School of Business at the University of Utah and Director of the Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute. And I've had the opportunity to get to know her and meet with her a lot. And we had no idea how this was going to affect us. Like I said earlier, they said we got that policy piece from the Utah League of Cities and Towns and from the Kim C. Gardner Institute, and they said you're going to be down 30%. So we cut our budgets by 20, and we've come out of this far stronger than we probably could and should have believed we would. Next slide, Brandon. So a lot of the downturn that we were being given information on and expecting actually did not happen. When you look at everything that came into our community over the last year, it's amazing that large economic downturn predicted with the COVID pandemic never materialized. Muted economic development impact, tax revenue held up well due to movement to online shopping. Thank goodness we have sales tax collections for online shopping. I can tell you, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but we have plenty of Amazon trucks that pull into our house all the time. Many middle income and higher income individuals shifted from the office to working from home with little employment interruption. The federal government obviously offered and provided a buffer. Families First Coronavirus Response Act signed in March 18th of 2020, very early on in the pandemic. And economic growth was surging. Unlike the Great Recession of 2009, this downturn has not been as deep, and the recovery will be quicker and much more robust. Pent-up demand for travel, entertainment, and eating out is very palpable out there right now, and consumers have more money to spend as the savings rate has increased substantially in the use of the 7 to 8% translate in sales tax growth. New COVID relief bill and the American Recovery Act have absolutely impacted what we're doing and our budgets as we look forward to the new year. Next slide. So you can see, while the public health crisis has been tragic, the impact of the pandemic on the Utah economy has been much milder than initially expected, and a strong recovery is forecasted for 2021. We do not anticipate inflation to impact risk this fiscal year. Risk of inflation has been discussed. Mixed outlooks on inflation. Something the city absolutely needs to watch. Seen increases, we'll have to watch carefully for inflation. We don't know what that's going to look like, but that's something we're very cognizant of and looking for. Thanks, Brandon. When you look at the Consumer Confidence Index, you can see where we were in 2009 and where we were in the middle of 2020. And you can see how that is climbing dramatically. We're very excited about that. And I think that's a good trend line for where we are as a community. A lot of other communities don't have that luxury and aren't looking at that. I can tell you a lot of other communities in the state of Utah are not looking at those kind of trend lines. So we're really excited about that. To give you a brief overview on the recent efforts that we've made, if you can move to the next slide, Brandon. So it was a crazy year last year. There was a lot of money that came in, and there were a lot of efforts made to stand and shore up local economies. When you look at that, the emergency loan fund, we had over $326,000 loan, 41 businesses served. A lot of that was funded initially way before the federal government came in by generous community donors. I had personal phone calls from people, like, I'll just give one example, Arno Construction. They called and said, I went downtown and it was a town, and I was horrified by that. And we want to give $100,000 to this emergency loan fund and to start to stand up our local businesses. We obviously responded to urgent COVID-19 needs prior to the CARES Act because of that generosity from our local donors. I've mentioned a bunch of times in the past, we've been recognized as one of the top 1 or 2 cities in the entire nation when it comes to its generosity when it looks at volunteer hours given and charitable donations. That speaks loudly to how important that is. When we did get our CARES money, we had 11.28 million granted, 193 businesses and 69 nonprofits were served. This was funded by CARES Act funds by Ogden City and Weber County. We collaborated our funds. We put both of them together and figured out how that worked. We retooled our special events committee to look at dine and shop, local promotions, really tried to stand up the art in our communities. And we did, if you can remember, we put a whole bunch of cones out and did a whole bunch of restaurant, curbside pickup and business support initiatives because we weren't doing things like the Twilight series and a lot of other things that we had traditionally done. So I really appreciate how nimble and quick our staff was to look at ways that we can help stand up and support our local businesses. They did a phenomenal job with that. Next slide, Brandon. So here's a budget comparison, which we had no right to really expect or to look into. And like I said, we're in a very unique position in terms of cities in the United States when we look at what's happened. You can look through those numbers and you'll obviously get the big budget packet tomorrow. But a couple of key things I want to bring up on this. The general fund primarily increased due to sales tax increases of over 5.8 million. The majority of the revenue increase is offset through wage increases. So we wanted to recognize just how unique our employees stepped up during this entire process. So what we wanted to do was to push that back to our employees. They're the ones that get all the work done here. And that was really important to us. Ogden City's total increase of 30 million is the 30 plus is a result of the general fund increases and significant budget increases in BDO fund to appropriate the CIP and other purposes. And that was an increase of over 8 million. CIP fund to appropriate 8.8 plus, more than fiscal year 2021. We'll discuss that in later slides. The airport fund to appropriate over 6 million. The airport has a significant increase to the CIP budget discussed in later slides. And the RDA increase relates to the additional development in areas and new area in the budget in fiscal year 22, the continental area. The MBA Public Works Community Building bond debt was paid off in 2021, leaving just a small budget for any requirements left for bond reporting. So the next slide, we want to do a budget comparison. When you look at the trend of the general fund, if you can move that forward, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't know why there's a delay. I'm doing it as soon as I can, but it looks like it's delayed to see on your end. So if you'd like, I could try to stop share and reshare to see if that fixes it.
There you go. So you can see where the trend line is for that. And we took a huge dip in the fiscal year 2021, and we're almost exactly where we would expect to be in 2022. And that's a luxury not a lot of other communities have. The total change from 20 to 22 is a budget increase of 5.3%. This averages to an increase of 2.65% per year. This is an expected trend for the general fund growth year over year and shows that although the comparison from 2021 to 2022 looks like a very large increase, it is more in line with the 2.65 annual growth. Next slide, Brandon. So when you look at the major changes in general fund revenue, the general fund budget is projected to increase by almost 12% to 67 million and over $500,000 from the fiscal year 2021 council adopted budget. This increase is largely a result of sales tax stability and growth over the past year, resulting in an increase of over 5.8 million in the sales tax budget. Additionally, most other revenue areas in the general fund were projected to have moderate increases between 0.7 and 9.62%. Franchise tax is flat and telecommunication is decreasing by 50K. And it's worth mentioning that telecommunication has decreased annually for 7 years. Next slide, if you will. So this is something I'm really proud of and that I didn't see for a long time when I lived here. We had a lot of spotlighted recognitions. Ogden City was recognized as the 9th best performing city in the nation. 5 cities ready to build with remote workers in mind. That's a huge credit to our community and economic development group. Top 50 best US cities for starting a business, top 20 US cities for manufacturers, 12 small towns with beautiful architecture. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I've mentioned this a bunch, but we had some developers that came in and said, Ogden City got rich at the right time in the early 1900s and built all this amazing architecture. Then they got poor at the right time, so we didn't go tear it all down and put up a bunch of strip malls and everything else. So those are things that we're really proud of. And I think it's part of the reason we had Avelo Airlines look at Ogden as one of their primary destinations with a new regional area. Really proud of that. It's these things don't and are not lost on site selectors as they're looking for places to go and for places to put people. And so that really does help us build our brand as a community and to do more for us to be one of the older communities in the state. Those things just didn't happen before. I can tell you when I grew up here, that was just not the case. So I'm really proud of all of those recognitions and what the work people have put in to be one of those best performing cities and everything else. So and that's a credit to you all for the work that you've put into this and for taking sometimes some hard decisions with our economic development department and everything else. So I want to thank you for that. That's something you should be very proud of as well. So one of the things I'm really proud to talk about for a little bit is the bus rapid transit system. That was a 20-year effort that we all collaboratively pitched into. The BRT combines the capacity and speed of light rail with a much lower cost of an integrated bus system. Once complete, the Ogden BRT will provide riders a clean air ride in an electric bus from the Ogden Frontrunner station. It's important to say electric buses. We'll be the first one in the state to do electric buses. That's in part thanks to some mistakes that Volkswagen Corporation made and had to give air mitigation money to the state to take care of, but we are very happy to be the recipient of that. That'll go through downtown along dedicated bus lanes in the center of Harrison Boulevard and through Weber State University campus and to McCady Hospital. When operational, riders will be able to catch the bus every 10 to 15 minutes on weekdays, every 15 to 30 on the weekends. This project will benefit the community by reducing vehicle trips, supporting the economy, and providing transportation choices. One of the things I'm really proud of on that is you look at the free fare for 3 years. Part of what needs to happen in terms of using public transportation is a paradigm shift. And I've mentioned this a lot. When I was a student at Weber State, I think in the early 90s, we had 16 to 18,000 students and 5,000 parking stalls. And now we have over 28,000 students up there, 5,000 parking stalls that we had. So this is critical to Weber State moving forward. They've taken this through the heart of their campus. It's been a critical spine for what they see moving forward. And as we look at the development that's going to happen along that critical line, I think it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be transformational. It'll be a once in our lifetime kind of a project. And so I'm very proud to be associated with that. And I think it's going to do amazing things there. So when we look at that downtown, as we look at that public transportation infrastructure that's going in, I'm going to apologize right now. You're probably all going to get a lot of phone calls because it's going to be the busiest construction season we've seen in a number of years. And when you come downtown, it's going to be orange cones and a lot of other things. I did have one person tell me, Mike, I really like it when I see orange cones because those are developments in our downtown, and that's infrastructure that's going to last for much longer than any of probably us that are going to be in office. And so I've taken that to heart, and that helps me sleep better at night, knowing that there are people out there that will look past just the inconvenience of construction, knowing that it's going to set the stage for our future in our community. But I want to talk about some of these development and the current projects. I want to thank you all for the Make Ogden plan that was adopted by you in 2020. That sets the foundation for Ogden's future growth. We're working on several projects that support Make Ogden, including the Winter Block, the proposed remote work hub in Electric Alley. That this last year has just elevated the profile of having remote work hubs, and the Union Station campus. We have some great things that are happening there that we hope to see to fruition. And it's worth mentioning that Ogden is one of the 5 finalists in a nationwide RFP to create remote work environments. And I think we're going to be able to get there. Work continues on the Riverbend, Ogden Business Exchange, 9 Rails Creative District, pre-development for Capitol Square, which is the old Rite Aid area, and the Gibson Grove. So we're really excited about those things, and you're going to see a lot happening in the next little bit. Talk a little bit about business recruitment, expansion, and the gardening of economic development, which I think is really important. It's worth mentioning that you plant seeds now, or as has been said, you plant trees when you're in office that you know that you'll never enjoy the shade of, but hopefully your children will. And so that's part of the gardening project. We have, you know, as was mentioned earlier, we had one of the most robust, well, the most robust job growth during the pandemic in the entire United States of America. We were 3.8%, and Provo was 2.8%, and then there was a Garden City in New Jersey that was right behind us. So we have not been asleep at the switch on that. To be the most robust job creation community in the entire United States is pretty amazing. A couple of key pieces of that: Williams International, they brought 300 jobs up from Mexico and $60 million investment. Microgem is a unique group that they're a life sciences company, and they are doing rapid COVID-19 tests and flu tests and a bunch of other things. We were able to repurpose one of our vacant storefronts in the 5 Points area to bring that business in. We're really excited about that. That's been a model for the EDC Utah and how you address some of those vacant storefronts. And then the small business support, I really cannot thank Sarah Meese and the Economic Development Department and everyone else that really did great work for the Ogden Cares grants. It was really, really difficult for them to look at the money they got, the ambiguity of the rules, and how you were able to distribute that. And figure out what we needed to do. And we had some great counselors with that group that went through all of it. And as you can see, we granted 11.28 million to 193 Ogden City businesses and 69 Weber County nonprofits. Thought it was amazing what they did out there. And in addition to everything else that they have been doing. And we're very, very proud of the work that the Sarahs have done. And it was a model for in the most. Also want to appreciate the entrepreneurial support and partnership with Weber State and the Wildcat Microfunds, Swazo Center, et cetera, and the development of the new business startup training program for micro enterprises. That's part of why we were the #1 city in the nation for what's happened in terms of job growth. When everybody else was going backwards, we were moving forward. And that's something I've been very proud of. Want to look at again, appreciated the recognition for the police department. They have been amazing through this whole pandemic. If you weren't aware, the Ogden Traffic Bureau was presented the Department of Public Safety Commissioner's Award for Excellence, presented to exceptional officers implementing the hashtag Drive Safe Ogden initiative that led to a 50% reduction in fatal automobile accidents. And on December 8th, 2020, the United States Attorney General or Attorney John Huber presented Chief Watt with the Department of Justice Outstanding Accomplishment Award for the Ogden Police Project Safe Neighborhoods Project. The award was from the United States Attorney General William Barr, and had it not been for COVID, they would have flown Chief Watt to Washington, D.C. to recognize him there. We were one of only 3 cities in the entire United States to be given that kind of a recognition. So again, thank you for the recognition today to the police department and for the work that they've done in a really difficult time period. Your support and our support is very, very critical to them when you look at a national environment where that doesn't happen everywhere. So we really appreciate everything that you've done. When you look at what we've accomplished and the Ogden City Police Department have accomplished in the last number of years, you just look at that bottom line, Part 1 crime, to go from 2017 to 2020 and have almost a 29% reduction in Part 1 crime in our community is amazing. If you've read what's happening in the national media and in other places, it's exactly the opposite. They see it growing exponentially, and we've been able to give that kind of support and appreciation to our guys to keep them engaged and involved in what's happening. That comes from an effective strategic plan. We look at all the tools we have at our availability. So when you look at what's happening with the ATAC or the Real-Time Crime Center, the drone program, again, that's not chasing people around. It's just giving our guys an opportunity to have eyes on places when they get complaints that are called in, so they can go have a quick look and know what's happening. And then the Project Safe Neighborhoods has resulted in taking the worst of the worst offenders off the street and making sure that they aren't able to continue to do some of those destructive things that we've seen over the years in our community. Just to say, 191 firearms were seized, almost 600 pounds of meth seized, 6 pounds of heroin seized. Those are great results, and we really appreciate what they're doing. Housing in neighborhoods, that's been a hot topic for a lot of different council meetings. We very much believe in that. We're a little bit different than a lot of other communities in that we were pretty much built out in the 1940s. And so we went for a long time where our housing stock dipped, and we turned into primarily rental neighborhoods, which is good and bad. But if they're out-of-state renters and they don't have a piece of equity or any skin in the game in our communities, it's easy for them to just cash flow things and not really care about what's happening. We've really tried hard to create an environment where we want to have a diversity of housing types for all income levels. We've put a lot of money, and you have all put a lot of money into dedicated housing. You can look at some of those matches we've had from HUD and Synchrony Bank and from our own city programs. It really does stabilize neighborhoods. And when you look at the heat maps of where people are getting calls for service and what's happening in those areas, when you have home ownership and home ownership levels increase, it really does stabilize that. And so we've been very proud of that. And that's part of the 30% reduction in Part 1 crime in the last number of years, is because we have made a significant investment collectively, all of us, in what's happening in our neighborhoods. And we're really proud of that. One of the things I love on the very bottom, Own in Ogden down payment assistance for 71 different homes, seeing increases in homeownership rates and equity, which can be argued either way. Some people feel it's building the wealth of our community. Some people feel it's pricing other people out, but to know that we have programs in place that have been used for a long time to put people into homes that might not be able to afford it otherwise, and to give them an equity stake is really important to me. And I think that's important to the community, and want to appreciate Ward Ogden and CED. When you look at our multifamily housing, I'll just give you this quick scenario from my perspective. When I first came into office, we started the units down at Riverbend, and we could not find a commercial lender for any of those units. And we had to personally finance the first 3 to get the commercial rates up, or to have people, the commercial lending, be able to come in and to loan on some of those homes. We have seen a huge amount of people that have come in and wanted to, as private developers, bring in multifamily housing downtown. And so we're really, excited and enthused about that. When you look at those notable projects, we have almost 340 units that are coming online right now. Those are things that we all didn't collectively have to put a whole bunch of money into. They recognize that there is a desire to be in downtown Ogden and to be around the resources that we have, whether it's the rivers, the trails, be able to walk to restaurants, be close to your place of business, everything else, as we call that on the Wasatch Front Regional Council. It's access to opportunity. We've created a lot of access to opportunity, and that's why a lot of these places are coming online right now without a lot of investment from Ogden City to try and bring people in that wouldn't otherwise come and make investments in our community. And so I'm really proud of that. And I think we have a single year record for multifamily units. So that's something to not sneeze at or say we're not addressing that issue, because we have and we are in a big way. So interesting to be coming out of the pandemic. I've been to a number of different events in the last little while, and there is a big desire for people to get out and to reconnect with people and to reconnect with their communities. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming up. We obviously have Farmers Market, which is one of my favorites. Everybody gets fresh produce, and we get to support our local farmers and everything else. You can see a lot of those things that are coming on. When you look at August, I want to talk just a little bit about Twilight concerts. We didn't know what to expect from that. And I think we almost sold every one of those Twilight concerts out in the first couple of days. The numbers I heard was that in 2019, before the pandemic, we sold 200 season tickets in the first full day, and we sold over 1,000 in the first 2 hours. And I want to thank our local community partners that have put all of this together, curated it, and brought so much excitement to it. But people are desperate to get downtown, and they want to hang out with people and celebrate everything that Ogden has to offer. I read an article in the Salt Lake City magazine that said what is going on in Ogden City with Twilight? We cannot compete with that at all. We're on mothballs and not doing anything. And when it sold out that fast, a lot of people in Salt Lake really took notice of that and were very excited to come north and to hang out with us on our historic 25th Street and enjoy that lineup of bands, which is amazing. And I actually recognized a couple of the bands on that list, which I haven't done in years past. So I'm really excited about Twilight too. And I cannot thank our arts, culture, and events group enough for how dedicated they've been, how safe they've been through the whole process, but their focus on really curating unique experiences for us in Ogden. I think it's we have one of the best teams in the world at that. So I want to thank them for that publicly. Transportation updates. A lot of you were there for the groundbreaking for the BRT, which happened in April. That project is underway. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to apologize for all the orange cones and orange barrels that are in our downtown. Some people will say that's a sign of progress, but we have more going on now than we've had in a long time. Construction is happening on Washington Boulevard and at Weber State, and will be under construction for the next 1.5 to 2 years. That's a difficult thing to measure. I want to say that it's difficult to get concrete right now. And the UTA told us at one point a few months ago that they can't get a quote that's good for steel that lasts for more than 24 hours. So the construction industry is really difficult right now. So we don't know what that's going to look like. We were talking earlier with the county commissioners, and they said that when we started this about 10 years ago, the cost estimate for that BRT project was $60 million. I think we're going to be, would be lucky at 125, but it's going to be something that is, it's a lifetime project for all of us and for Weber State. And that's why they put it through the heart of their campus. And we're really proud of the work that you've all put into this and that we've all put into this. I think it's going to be amazing. A couple of quick other updates. 20th Street, that was substantially completed last fall. Just have some landscaping to put up with and to put in 26th Street, which is in front of our office. I'm sure you've all seen that. That should be completed in June. And we're working on getting the planning materials in, everything else. There will be a new entrance to the Muni Building lot, and we're stubbing in power. Doug, this is for you. For electric charging stations. I know that's been on your list for a while. So we're stubbing in power for all of that. And then the Buse connector, upon receiving funding in 2022, a pathway will be designed and constructed to connect Buse Pond to the Skyline Roundabout. We have a lot of sidewalk projects going on. Install the sidewalk east of Harrison on 36th. Install sidewalk south of Wasatch Elementary to Polk and to connect 36th Street. Install sidewalk to Taylor Ave south of 32nd Street to connect to Boynton, and fix the sidewalk on Boynton to Wasatch Elementary School. We've heard loud and clear that safe access to schools and getting kids off the streets and everything else has been important. Wanted you to know that we've prioritized that as well. Timing for North Street is up in the air. We'll have better information from WACOG about that timing in January 2022. And timing for 20th and Lincoln Signal, a little up in the air. Trying to schedule late September, November, if we can get through the environmental. If not, that will be spring of 22. So these are timelines for a lot of those major transportation projects. As you look through that, obviously they're all estimated. But like I said, we have more going on now in terms of infrastructure build out than we've had in a long time. And I know that there will be some frustrations as people try to get in and out and to their favorite haunts or restaurants or anywhere else. But this is the estimated construction timeline for a lot of those different projects that we've been working for years to put together. Wanted to give you a brief overview on the BDO revenue ordinance. As you look through what you've approved, we have the quality neighborhoods, the Marshall White Center, the Mall District, public arts maintenance, the CIP fund, the airport fund, golf fund, critical emergency or critical project contingency, and then obviously the general fund redevelopment and all others, for a total use of the fund balance at almost 12.8 million. Up next, we have the CIP list. You can look through all of those. Couple notable things we're looking at. I remember when I started, I don't know if we had sidewalk, curb, and gutter replacement. That was almost $100,000 when I started. We've made significant upstrides in that. And you can just kind of look through that. This will all be in the packet. I know I've been criticized in the past that not every line item is in this. It's worth mentioning that the budget's almost 660 pages as you look at every line item, and that will all be available tomorrow, so you can look through that. But these are the significant CIP projects that we have moving forward, and we've appreciated the support for that, and I think they're all great. One of the things that's always come up are the investment in sidewalk improvements. As I mentioned earlier, that's something we really want to see. We want people to be able to move safely through the community, and for kids to be able to ride big wheels or scooters and not get hurt or trip their skateboards on different things. It's a nice thing. I think we're 27 years in a row of being Tree City USA. But that is a brutal thing for our sidewalks and some of those neighborhood areas to get around. It's worth mentioning that the budget fiscal year 21 has a big spike, since it includes the council strategic plan funds of 273K BNC and Prop 1 funds of 740 and CMAQ funds of nearly 600K. Also, carryover or unused funds from fiscal year 20 is also in the 2021 budget total. So that will move up as we go through, but you've always asked about those investments in sidewalks and neighborhoods, and we wanted to present that to you. So city staffing, we are recommending an increase to the number of full-time employees by a net of 5 positions. 5 positions are being added. 2 are budget neutral, 3 budgeted through the general fund. 1 is being reclassified and 1 is being retitled. So we have a economic development administrator, 1 accountant, IT support specialist, IT administrative assistant 2, which is budget neutral, and 1 facilities maintenance technician. So we've appreciated all the input from our department directors as we've looked at our services that are out there, and that's our best guess is what we need to be as lean and mean as we can moving forward with that. If we can go to the next slide for staffing updates. Thanks, Brandon. I think it's really important to mention that 0 positions were eliminated over the last year. As we came into this, there was a lot of panic in a lot of other communities in Utah and certainly across the nation. We had no hiring freeze. Currently, we have 46 vacant positions. 8 offers have been made, 19 recruitment positions in progress, no full-time position layoffs. And I don't know if you've all read, but I've read a number of articles about high turnover. It's not just a concern citywide and not just in public safety. It's really difficult to find people that want to come in and give a commitment to working for a city or anything else. It's almost, I'll just give you my own personal example. My daughter worked at Smith's as a bagger when the pandemic hit, and she realized she could make $25 to $30 an hour delivering for DoorDash, and just walked away from that job and does that on her own time and everything else. And we're seeing that kind of push from millennials and service workers that want to go out and have more flexibility and everything else. So the city's it's a tough spot to be in as we look at how all of that works and who you want to bring in and who are those people that are interested in working for a city like this. So we're continuing to work on that. As the chief mentioned earlier, we brought in some recruitment specialists that are going out and going to job fairs and working on things. We also have a Ogden City Career Fair on May 26th from 1 to 4 here in our amphitheater. So those that want to come get a job at the city, we're going to give them all the information we can give them. But we're trying to think outside of the box, because it's the nice thing about being a net job creator. One of the only 3 cities is being a net job creator, being the #1 net job creator. It's also makes it difficult for us to hire and for some of those people to get really interested in coming, because they have so many options here. And that's something I think is something we've always wanted. We want us to be a community of opportunity where people can come in and whatever it is they're looking to do, they can find a way to get plugged in and get a job, hopefully find a home, and live, work, and play in our community. And that's a promise I've always had. It's a benefit I've always had in my life, having grown up in Ogden and gone through the Ogden School District and Weber State. I think that's something we can't lose sight of, and it's something we're very focused on. And so I want to thank you all for the opportunity. I want to thank Ogden citizens. As I mentioned earlier, we've been recognized as the most generous community in the entire United States of charitable donations and volunteer hours given. I appreciate the feedback that we get. I want to thank you all for your support. City Council staff for pouring through these many pages of budget recommendations and everything else. And then really for me personally, I want to thank our department directors and our finance staff who have worked tirelessly on this. This last year has been really tough on everybody to try and, as I've mentioned a bunch of times, Wayne Gretzky always said, greatness isn't skating to where the puck is, it's trying to skate to where the puck is going to be. And we had no idea where the puck was going to be in the course of the last year. And they have all doubled down and worked tirelessly to try and figure that out and to put our community in a good position. So I want to thank all of our directors and certainly the finance staff that have worked so hard on this. And I'll say it's a lot harder to do these on Zoom meetings than they are in person like we used to. You can't read people's faces, can't see when they get red and angry and don't believe or can't buy off on an idea. Every single one of our directors and finance staff doubled down and worked really hard over the course of the last year. And I'm proud of where we are right now. I think they've done a phenomenal job. I think we're in a better position than almost every other city, as was mentioned in the country, in terms of our economy. And I'm very grateful for the people I get to work with every day. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Mayor, I want to thank you for including the electric charge stations. I see it as progressing to the future and being proactive. And so, that's what the market is going to, and we need to be prepared for that. But I'd like to go back to the consumer confidence index. I recall on the chart there, we had a dip in 2009, very low. And then from there, all the way to about 2018, just beginning of 2019, it was a constant increase. And then we had the pandemic in 2020, but that dip did not go down as far as the 2009 index. And now it's starting back up. So I can say that, if it keeps going with a trend after 2009, that, we do have some optimism going forward from this point going there. The positive aspect is that the 2020 dip was not as severe as the 2009. But I also heard that the challenge was that they're anticipating that the inflation rate will may go to as high as 4%. How do we address that, Mayor?
Well, we have to keep a close eye on it. And Councilman, Councilperson, if you have any idea where inflationary rates are going to go, you need to be in the market, because you're going to make a whole bunch of money betting on that. Nobody knows. And nobody could have predicted how we were going to come out of this pandemic. And I was the first one to be in a panic when it all came together. I mean, I'll tell you a personal story. I bought a drift boat to go spend some more time in Western rivers and everything else. And I put it in the water the first time in March, and had a couple of friends in it, and we pulled it out, and a guy in a big black truck next to me said, "Holy cow." And we were on the river for maybe 6 hours. He said, "Did you hear they shut the entire city of New York down?" And we're like, oh, there is no way. And we're up in Wyoming, and there's no way they shut the entire city of New York down. And over the next 2 or 3 days, we had meetings every single morning to try and figure out what was going on and what was happening. And we had no ability to predict what was going on. So like I said earlier, I want to give credit to our staff and our department directors. I'm really blessed to be with a group of seasoned people that have been through really difficult things, and we're able to stay calm and not panic through this. But we don't know where inflation is going to go. If you took anything from my presentation, though, we're in a better position than most to weather some things as they come in the next few years. And I'll give credit to you all and to our economic development department. Like we said, when we talked about gardening, plant seeds for years and years in advance and hope that they sprout and start to grow in uncertain times. And they've done a great job of gardening and trying to figure out how and where we need to be as issues you can't begin to fathom come up. So they've done a great job of building a very solid foundation for us all to work from.
Thanks, Mayor.
Chair, if I could just make a comment real quick, or it kind of in a question as well, but you talk about the Wayne Gretzky quote, and I want to just commend the finance department and meeting with us regularly and talking to us and telling us where we were at and making sure that we were on track, because I know that took extra work and extra time, but I would actually consider or hope that we consider continuing to do that through this next fiscal year. I don't know that we're going to continue to see that the 37% sales tax continue. And so I just want to make sure that, we're on top of it if we need to do and make some changes throughout the year. So I appreciate everything that everyone's done. And I agree with you that the phenomenal job that everyone has, the yeoman's work has been done for sure with the administrative staff. So, but I would just like to see if we could continue those and make sure that we're on budget and continuing that. So, but thank you for all you've done.
We will pass that along. Thank you. As Blake Moore said when the Avelo Airlines landed today, it's so fun to be able to come and take credit for things you didn't really do all that much for. So I'll pass that credit to our finance staff that really did the pick and shovel work to figure this out and to give us really sound advice. And I'll pass that along. Thank you. That means a lot.
Thank you, Mayor, for that. That was a very thorough explanation of the budget and lots going on. So thank you for that presentation. Any other questions or comments for the mayor?
You ready for a motion?
Sure.
Then, Chair, I would make a motion that we accept for review the mayor's proposed fiscal year 2021 to 2022 2022 budget.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion to adopt the mayor's proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, to accept it for review, and a second by Councilmember, a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Nadolski. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And just to remind everyone, that will be posted tomorrow. So that will be available tomorrow on the website. Next up is public comments. If we could have Eric walk through that process, that would be great. And then we'll go ahead and accept public comments tonight.
Thank you, Chair. For those of you wanting to share public comments at this time, you have to be joining us using the Zoom application and using the raise hand feature found at the bottom of the application. If you just tap or click that, your hand will be raised and we'll go through the order.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have one hand raised so far. Heath Sato, go ahead. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and the time is now yours.
Hey everybody, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. Much of what I'm about to say I sent as a text to Brandon Cooper, and he appears to have accepted my apology with his response. But I wanted to make my comments on this subject public. Councilmember Nadolski, who I absolutely respect, made clear to me his own respect and trust of Mr. Cooper, and how my comments to the council have come across as personal attacks on Mr. Cooper. That was never my goal, but I recognize now that's how it appears, and for that I apologize. I regret that my delivery of these questions has taken away focus from the questions themselves. That helps nobody and has only hurt my cause of making sure the city gets development that is best for the people that live here. So again, I just wanted the council to know that this is not personal, and I regret that my quest for information looked like a personal attack on him. It isn't, and I'm genuinely sorry it came across that way. I was and still am frustrated by the current process and its lack of public transparency. I appreciate the council showing interest in more transparency last week, and I appreciate Mr. Cooper's comments expressing his willingness to review the process with you all and see where it can be improved. And I look forward to how this process will evolve. That said, I would still like to get a couple questions answered, and I've pared it all down to 2 questions. I will share with you all soon in a short email so it's clear, concise, and there's no confusion about what this is actually about. If one of you can help me out with this, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, as we start discussing moving back into chambers for meetings, I would like to express a desire to continue a Zoom option for the public, particularly for work sessions, as few of us get off work before 4 p.m. And it's great to see what's going on behind the scenes before the council meeting. I hope we're able to work out Zoom options for the city council meetings as well, since it's not easy for a lot of people to get off work, clean up, and get over to City Hall before 6 p.m., particularly those of us that don't have white-collar jobs. I think the Zoom option is a good option to level things out for people in all walks of life. And finally, there was a claim made multiple times tonight about the job market here in Ogden being #1 in America for 2020. That data is for the Ogden Clearfield area, which seems to be a common error made when reporting on the economy and housing in Ogden. Areas with militaries always fare better when the budgets are increased for the military. We saw something like a $35 billion increase in the military budget last year. So we saw job increases in the at the Air Force Base. Anyways, I just want to make sure we are careful about looking at things as to whether they're just for Ogden or the Ogden Clearfield area, because that skews the numbers. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have Angel Castillo. Go ahead, Angel. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and the time is now yours.
Good evening, Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. I'd like to thank the council for all the questions that they asked during the work session. And I really appreciated Chief Young's presentation and his willingness to engage in conversation and outreach. I think that's a great sign. And I'm thrilled that Assistant Chief Subi is now part of the mix. He's a great officer, and lots of people in the community support him since he's been an officer. I too wanted to, as you move into budget, just discuss the whole Ogden Clearfield Metro statistic as it pertains to housing. I know, which is very important to me. As we look at housing options, I know that most of the time we use HUD's suggestion of using Ogden Clearfield Metro as the baseline to measure our affordable housing. And that's an antiquated standard that HUD has. Ogden Clearfield Metro, for those listening that don't know, is 7,200 square miles. It's almost 600 people in population, and the average median income is almost 80,000. And if we look at Ogden, we have, we're just 27 square miles, and we're just under 90,000 in our population. And our average median income is just under $50,000. That's a big, big difference when you're looking at a 7,200 square mile area versus a 27 square mile area. And I highly encourage the council, when they're looking at housing and when they're looking at other things that pertain to AMI and population, that they consider data and ask questions, making sure that the data they have is for Ogden and not for a 600,000 population. We're talking about the 90,000 folks that live here, that are trying to afford housing here, that want to work here, that want to be a part of our amazing city. So just please keep that in mind as you go into budget. When you look at data and you make decisions, please ask yourself, am I basing my decision, and is this data for Ogden or Ogden Clearfield Metro? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and give it just another minute or two. Last week I moved on just a little bit too early. We missed somebody, so I don't want to do that again. It doesn't look like anyone else is going to raise their hand. So with that, we can move on to comments from the mayor.
Oh, I think you've heard plenty from me, but I do want to take a moment to congratulate Assistant Chief Subi. I think Jake Subi is going to be amazing there. I appreciated that he got an introduction to you all and got to tell you a little bit about his life story. And I think he's going to be amazing for us. So just want to extend my congratulations to him. And with that, you've heard plenty from me tonight.
Great, thank you. Comments from council members.
Gary, I have a comment.
Please.
I just want to thank Mr. Sato for his apology to Brandon. I guess I just wanted to share a personal anecdote, I guess. It's just been during the pandemic, and I've told you guys each as council peers that, the pandemic's taught me a lot on a personal note, that I don't want to come to meetings on Tuesdays and waste my time, or all the work in between Tuesdays that costs so much of us time away from our loved ones. I want to make sure that what we're doing here counts and that it matters. The mayor presented a lot today of all the things that we've been doing that definitely count and definitely matter. But one thing that I think matters the most to me, and I hope it matters the most to you, and I want Mr. Sato to know that it matters to me that each of us speak our truth, and I don't hold it against anyone who speaks their truth. I just ask, and I personally try to commit to, and don't always succeed, but I always try to do so with kindness. I think kindness and candor goes a long way in making progress as a community. So I appreciate his apology today to Brandon, and I'm happy to hear that Brandon has accepted that apology, and that moving forward, that critiques and criticism won't be personal. They'll just be based on what we each believe to be our truth, and that we speak our truth with kindness. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, please.
I'd like to piggyback on what Ben has said there. I look forward to hearing the comments from the public. It really gives us a snapshot of what they're thinking, and it really gives us an idea and a barometer of what's happening in some incidents. And I think, Ben, you've hit the nail on the head there. When you talk about kindness, we need to show kindness in all things, and I appreciate that. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. I would like to just say I had the honor, along with Councilmember Stevens, to attend the first flight in, or the ribbon cutting for I believe it's Avelo Airlines or Avelo Airlines. Got to hear their plans and their hopes of what can happen here at the Ogden Airport, and it's truly exciting what's going on out there. They were happy to be in Ogden. They were happy to be able to work with such a great staff. So I appreciate everything that the staff's doing at the airport. I'm appreciative of everything that the administration and his staff is doing to work with airlines to bring them in. They provide an opportunity for people to come here and for us to visit somewhere else, but at an inexpensive but yet reliable option. And it'll be exciting to see people coming in and out of that Ogden Airport and making that a more viable and more of a thriving airport. And so I'm excited about the future for that. And I'm excited to have that airlines and other airlines here building up our airport. So I believe there's lots of potential there, and I think we're just scratching the surface. I don't see any other.
Sure, I have a quick comment. So May is Utah Bike Month, and I don't often put a background on, but I put up my background today. A couple of things: make sure you get out, and we've got some great trails, and we've got some great bike lanes, and we're really working on trying to be a more active transportation city, and I love that. With that, though, those of us who still ride in our cars and use our cars, make sure that you're looking both ways, because there are a lot of us out there too that are on two wheels. So enjoy it, get out. These days are great right now, and yeah, just enjoy it. May's Utah Bike Month.
Thank you.
Chair, I was just going to make a quick comment, if you don't mind.
Please.
And following up on Vice Chair's comments, even though we have a lot of construction going on in the city, we still need to really think about shopping local and supporting our local businesses. Many of them have been hit really hard by the pandemic on many levels. And so get out of your car maybe and take a walk or take a bike or a scooter. I saw some scooters around, and get in there to the local businesses and get some food and some other goods in our local businesses.
Okay, that's a great plug. Thank you so much.
One thing, Chair, I also want to give kudos to Heath. It's not easy to give public apologies. Appreciate that effort. And I want to kind of make a distinction. I think it's important that, it's not necessarily unkind if people are criticizing the job we are doing, or they disagree with the way we're approaching something. it's just when they get personal that it becomes an issue. And so I don't want to stifle anybody's comment. I hope we haven't done that with our comments, but anyway, I just wanted to salute him. It's not easy to do that, so I appreciate that effort, and I'm looking forward to spend a little time outside. Been cooped up a long time. It's feeling good to kind of be coming out of the pandemic. Spend a little time with my friend Ben today, and that was absolutely wonderful. So get out and live. I think who has the shirt on that says that? Ben does. Yeah, get out and live.
Ben does.
Yeah. So thank you all.
Great, thank you. If there's no other comments, we can entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adjourn and a second by Councilmember Nadolski. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Stay safe.
All right, you too.
Thanks.